Okay, another one of these little book things. This is one I picked up. I'd never heard of the author or whatever. Eater by Gregory Benford. And this was published when? Because that gives me some context. I think around 2000. It's actually kind of... Okay, first printing was 2000, and then 2001 was the second printing. The paperback printing, which this would be, actually, I don't think it was revised. It was in May. So, importantly, it was before September 11th, where a lot of the government aspects changed. This is maybe one of the few real hard science fictions that I've really enjoyed. Normally, when I think hard science fiction, I'm thinking that they're going into a lot of detail on the technical type solutions and a lot about near future technology that could be easily projected. What I would consider game-wise in this, High Frontier is kind of your hard science fiction game, right? You know, it doesn't make any assumptions or whatever about any kind of magical type of, faster than light travel, but more than just being believable within the current frame of science, it's actually usually really heavily rooted on the knowledge that the knowledge and technology of the current time and near future projections. And it's often, trying to, show the wonder of this simple little shift or whatever that would occur. But it's usually more focused on that technological aspect. This one, interestingly enough, is written by an astronomer. And it's a different kind of hard science fiction. It's a first contact story. One in which a very, very different kind of life form is discovered. One that is actually, no matter what I say, I'm going to give some spoilers away, because the book slowly peels back layer after layer of information about this critter, if you want to call it that. So the focus of its intelligence and its existence is actually in the magnetic environment around a black hole, but it's actually, and again, more spoilers, it's actually been constructed by another race of presumably biological creatures whose planet was doomed as a means of escaping. Oh, fuck me. Anyway, it's almost lit. If I stand it up, there might be enough fuel in a little bit. In terms of the creature itself, it's an innovative and exciting kind of concept, right? In and of itself, just that. Would have made a good short story. And then, we wouldn't have to worry about anything. We just kind of relate it as a, within a set of short stories, we'd give a couple of sentences about it. And we wouldn't be worried about any kind of spoiler because we wouldn't actually give that away, right? We'd just say, this is one about a really interesting type of creature. But, this is a full novel. And I think where it gets richest in terms of how it's discussing things in terms of the storyline is actually in the interactions between these high-level astronomer scientists, and how their world interlocks with the national defense world, and how the two kind of collide together. I get a feeling that he has some experience in that sort of collision. I don't know what he did. Yeah, he's a professor at University of California, Irvine, visiting fellow at Cambridge. Doesn't really talk a lot about any kind of connection to the government type side of things. It almost feels like, so the agency that he makes up is, first of all, in the future. I don't know how far in the future, maybe nowadays from 2000, whatever, and is also in and of itself not based on anything. So he's not giving away any secrets or anything. It just feels like the interactions that he's had that he presents here, he's had some sort of interaction of that nature to have included this kind of, or knows somebody who has, and relayed information to him. And also, there's the personal lives of the main characters that are involved in it, which are also very interesting. Again, very much scientists, and their love life and how they're facing death. One of the characters is dying of cancer, and is in a very, very late stage where there's nothing to be done, really, except just try to extend a little bit and get a little bit more life out of it. Overall, I really found it an intriguing sort of take on things, because you're dealing with, first of all, the what is this thing question to begin with when they first start seeing it, and then discovering that there's an intelligence there, and discovering more and more about how it is, how it communicates, because it is a first contact book, but then the threat that it presents and how to react and overcome that threat. All done in believable fashions. I feel like, look, I'm not an expert on black holes or on the possibilities of on electromagnetic understanding or anything of that nature. Not at all. But I'm given what feels like believable science fiction hand-waving type stuff here. In the sense that I really don't think that he's violating any of the science that we have, and maybe, working off of some fringe theories and whatnot, but generating something that is an intriguing framework for a story. And it's a well-designed story, one in which I don't really find myself terribly liking any of the characters in it, which is kind of interesting. I find, and part of that may be that I find sort of the academic scientific community to be unpleasant, and he's showing a picture of much of what I don't like about it, without necessarily being anti it himself. It's just I have my reaction to it. Anyway, I found this particularly an enjoyable read for its type. Like, again, I'm not a big fan of hard science fiction. Usually it goes into too much detail on on the technology side. This one goes into a fair amount of detail on the science of the critter, the eater, and also on its psychology, sort of, kinda. You never really get much of it, but you get in its communications how it acts, and then also the psychology of the humans involved in dealing with the situation. Very interestingly, whoever had it before me, this is kind of going off onto, wrote up this weird, has this weird little thing, maybe it was a bookmark or something, but it was slipped in the middle, and they also have notes in it. And you can tell it's the same person from the handwriting, but also from the type of thing. And you know, this has nothing to do with it. It's like, but how many systematically unjust racist communities have been long run by Democrats, or have been long run is what it looks like, who claim sanctuary status to take away job, I guess opportunities, it's shortened, for needful American minority or other, and just all this stuff that's very right-wing. So I'm like, I would write this off, except they also wrote in green pen these little notes every now and then, just weird little things that must have struck them as some kind of horrible, you know, just struck their mind as this horrible liberal type ideals or something along that line. And basically, it's just this interesting little glimpse into the mind of the political opposition now. So, geez, I can't even read some of it. Yeah, so here, a helicopter got a shot of the eater setting on the horizon like a luminous insect scuttling after fresh prey. Fire alarms wailed in a chorus of thousands below. Behind it, the thing left a simmering record of ruin. And then they just have this little note, socialism. It's got nothing to do with socialism. This thing has just like done a military style attack or something. It's done an attack on the people. And it's just like, oh, smoldering ruin, okay, that's socialism. You know, it's like certain words just key them off. And there's a few of these throughout. They start getting more and more common as I go. But it's stuff like that where it's like, you're not really reacting to the story or anything. You're just like being triggered by these words as some sort of view. And what it kind of reminds me of is while my wife was dying, my past wife recently, the things she was writing down in her note thing were these kind of disjointed, unconnected notes. I've never known her, like, I don't think she had anything else of that nature. But I don't know, maybe she destroyed things like that or whatever. But it strikes me as sort of the unbalanced mind. Now, she was, obviously, her brain was badly affected by the drug she was using to finish herself off. But that's the kind of irrationality of connections and whatnot being made. I always kind of see one of my flaws, like one of my strengths is making connections that are a little bit of leaps. One of my flaws is not communicating them very well. But to me, these things feel like crazy person rants, you know, when I see stuff like that. That's just, and I would feel the same if it went in the other direction as well, as like if they had said fascism there, I would have been like, what the fuck? You know, this has nothing to do with anything to do with government control or whatever. This is just you being triggered by some words to your to whatever your meaningless little tribe is. But it is interesting, and it kind of shows you that maybe in a sense what you see as your political opposition may actually be more, and on either side, may actually be more far gone and unable to like live in the same reality in any sort of way. Just feels fringy to me, you know? I don't know. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the story except that somehow this person was triggered throughout this to write these little notes in here, and it's like, why? Why here? Why in this? Now the little scrap of paper, whatever. I would have looked at that, kind of had a smile. But when I started seeing, you know, these little notes about this is what the Democrats would do or whatever, just on stuff that has nothing to do, you know, at all. It's just kind of like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Can't you just like enjoy the story for the story instead of drawing in shit that has nothing to do with it? Now, in the same sort of way with the Tolstoy, I drew in shit from my own life, and that would have been, if I do decide to do that, I doubt I will. Not many people were interested. But if I did decide to read it and give commentary on it, that commentary would be based on my stuff. But that would be more an expression of how this makes me feel, you know? And I think it would be more based on the storyline than this stuff is. This is like how this small collection of words makes me feel out of nowhere. And this isn't even like, you know, any kind of high high literature or anything. It's science fiction. It's well written. It's as good as, you know, whatever your best sellers are and whatnot. Maybe a little better in a lot of ways. But yeah, it's an enjoyable book. The concept is interesting. But mainly I feel like I was most interested in how the characters were interacting and how, and sort of the character arcs that were presented. So, you know, there's like this tough government guy who's really all competence and everything. And he kind of breaks down at the end as one example. Even though in a lot of ways, as far as you can tell, he's kind of the least personally involved, affected by any of it. But who knows? He may have had family or whatever that was wiped out in one of the attacks. And, you know, whatever. They just don't go into it because he's not someone who shares. You know? And he's not one of the main characters. You never go inside his mind like you do with... I guess there's three main characters, and they form a strange sort of love triangle. Like, one where there's no real... So it's a love triangle of the past that's being revisited, but there are still feelings there and whatnot. It's just it's an interesting take on things, you know. Normally when you see a love triangle in a story, it's, you know, at that blooming moment of passion for at least one of the pairings or something. But this is not. This is, you know, involving someone at the end of their life, and yeah, it's just an intriguing view again. Again, stuff that I feel like the author has lived at least part of, and that you don't really see, or at least I don't really see, in the types of books that I generally tend to read. When I do read sort of more more mainstream bestsellery type stuff, if I happen to pick something up or just be in a situation where that's the only thing around to read or whatever. Usually I find something that I don't find things of this kind of nature, where it's discussing, both the political, not within, not in the broader sense, but more in the political academic type range, as well as the interpersonal range of that, of older people who aren't, being ruled by their passions quite so much, but more by their memories. And just that combination I found kind of refreshing to see, because I don't normally see it. And it doesn't make, blockbuster movies or anything like that. But it's within the realm of something that, there's a story going on that I do find more interesting and whatnot. So it's just an intriguing combination, with multiple storylines that are new to me in one way or another. Anyway, up it goes. I think I'll keep this one. I want to read it again someday, perhaps.